fasten your seatbelts, because we're going to have some severe turbulence. And remain seated at all times. Rough crowd. They never laugh at anything. Never laugh.
What's that? Dry sense of humor, you know?
Well, I don't know. It's only a problem in this state.
I have to tell an elephant joke.
An elephant joke?
Tell an elephant joke.
An elephant joke. Well, I don't know any that are clean enough to have on tape.
Elephant joke?
Yeah.
There's no unclean elephant.
Oh, well. Hang on. I'll speak to you privately afterwards. So, I guess I was here, let's say, at least over a year ago. So a lot has happened, obviously, since then. Those of you who were here the last time, and maybe a couple of times before that, do remember, hopefully, that I told you there would be terrorist attacks in the United States. And I also told you that there would be the eventual implementation of a martial law and eventually splitting of the United States and a global government. You remember all of that. And so now we're well on our way to that. Remember, the target date of all of this to come to a conclusion for this particular agenda is the middle of 2003. So we only have 13, 14 months left of a semblance of what you know of as the United States and the Earth, as far as you're concerned. I want to give you a little bit of a background to those of you who are not familiar with me, and there are some new people here. I did work in the government for over 25 years. I spent 13 of those years at the Montauk Project from 1970 to 1983. And that project did involve mind control, genetic manipulation, and then moved on into other bizarre experimentations as time travel, weaponry, research, and weather control, which is well underway now and quite established. As for my history, why I was involved in this, why me particularly, they look for people with certain type of genetics, people who have a predisposition for mental activities that you would call psychic or otherwise. Also has to do with my great uncle being the first president of the Soviet Union and my family being involved in government activity on both sides of the Atlantic ever since that time. My grandmother was a Russian spy in World War II, and my grandfather was actually sent to this country to start the Communist Party in the United States, which he did in the 1920s and 30s. And then he disappeared somewhere in the 1960s. That's how I came to do this kind of work. When I was in Montauk in 1983, that project crashed. And those of you who are interested in the details of that, you can read about that in the Montauk Alien Connection book out there in the lobby. And tonight I want to discuss mostly the latest book that I have written called Blue Blood, True Blood, Conflict and Creation, which is, how many of you have read that book? Just a couple of you. And in that book I write about what I know as the true history of the Earth based on the information I received during those 25 years working for the people who control this planet. There's a lot of history, if not almost 100% of history, and what you've learned in school that is completely false. Ideas, scenarios, events that have either been made up completely or that have been changed or altered in some way to fit the agenda of those who control the planet. I'm going to make a very, very long story short because we don't have that much time to talk about things, and I do want to give you all an opportunity at the end to ask questions on any topic that you want to ask, and I'm sure that some of you will be able to ask questions, those of you who are able to speak after I'm done. I have to get some of my excitement spray and put it around the room. I guess maybe you're tired after all week. But make a long and now the story, the history of the Earth, as you know, is millions of years old. In actuality, the story of human beings on the Earth is very short in comparison. It's less than 1 million years old. And The original colonists on this planet, again I'm condensing a lot because you can read about it in that book, were reptilian beings. Reptilians represent about 25% of the population of this galaxy. Human life form represents about 70% of the life forms in this particular galaxy, and then 5% are other types of beings of various proportions. Now understand, even though that's only 5% as far as other type of creatures are concerned, if you think that in this galaxy alone there are an estimated 100 billion stars, and then extrapolate that to where in the physical universe there are approximately 100 billion galaxies, and if you do the math, it's astronomical, the number of star systems that exist. And if only 0.1% of all of those stars had intelligent life, that would still be millions of civilizations, and then times that by the infinite realities that exist. In other words, alternate universes. So it's mind-boggling to imagine how many different civilizations are out there. Interestingly enough, on this little planet in this sector, there's only a couple of interactions compared to all those millions of civilizations, despite what you may have been told by some of the New Age information, which is mostly disinformation. And here again, those of you who've been with me before know the difference, and I'll explain for the new people. There's different kinds of information. Misinformation is simply misinterpreted knowledge or information that has not been understood correctly, like an honest mistake. Disinformation is a lie sandwich. That's when you have a lie in the middle with two truths on the end, or two lies on the end and a truth in the middle, but you get hooked in by the truth part, and so you think that the whole rest of it is also true. And that's what the government and all the governments of the earth do when they give out information to the public. It's always disinformation.
What's worse? Which is worse, the mis or the dis?
Well, in my opinion, both are not the best. They're not good, either one of them. But the worst, I imagine, if you want to use that terminology, would be the disinformation, because it's purposely given so that you won't get the whole information. You won't understand it completely, and you'll get hooked and skewered in the wrong direction. So it's a deception. So in my opinion, that is the most incorrect of that genre. Now, going back into history, this planet was actually uninhabitable, and it was occupying the second orbit around the sun, and it was a watery planet. And the human civilizations that existed in this galaxy originated in what is called the Lyrian star system. And I'll put that word up on the board for you, because you may hear it a lot in the future. The star system was called Lyrae. And for all intents and purposes, that was the home star system of all human life in this galaxy. And there is another star system that can be seen, I believe, from the southern hemisphere that is called Draco. And it was from here that the reptilian civilizations or beings existed, and they actually attacked the Lyrian civilization and broke it up into many pieces. And the refugees of the Lyrian star system fanned out throughout this sector of the galaxy and occupied a lot of the star systems that are within this particular sector. Now, if you look at our galaxy, about the Milky Way galaxy, it kind of looks like a pinwheel, like that. And this particular solar system that we are in occupies one little point on the tip of one of the arms that reaches out into deep space. So that if you were an invasion force and sought to occupy an entire galaxy, and you came upon a shape like this, the most logical thing for you to do would be to occupy all of the various points, thereby surrounding the entire inner portion of the galaxy,